Good. This is SolidWorks lesson number 1, very basic sketching and the basic layout of SolidWorks. So what we're going to do in this lesson is we're very basically and quickly going to look at SolidWorks, at the different layouts, and just how the interface of SolidWorks works. And then we're going to do the exercise 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 in your study guides. So you should have your study guides. There's exercise 1.1. I'm going to draw this simple rectangle. 1.2, very similar thing, but we'll get to that in just a minute. All right, so the way we open SolidWorks is double click on the SolidWorks icon on your desktop. Please, it's this one with the big SW, not SolidWorks Explorer or eDrawings or whatever the case might be. There are a whole bunch of add-ons that come with SolidWorks, so we're just going to run it off there. Remember, SolidWorks is quite a big program, so it does take a bit of time to load. But if it takes time on your computer, don't have to worry too much. Okay, so this is what SolidWorks looks like. At the top, we've got a toolbar over here with the usual file, view, that kind of thing. And on the right-hand side, we have what we call the Resource Manager. Now, the Resource Manager is split up into a couple of tabs, which you can click down here. So the first one is just your resources, then there's a library, where you can get different tools and things for later on if you're doing anyway, there's a toolbox there with content for later on. We'll talk about the toolbox a bit later. There's a file explorer, there's a drawing, this is when you work a view palette, this is when you're working in drawing mode, and your appearances, scenes, decals, etc. That is for when you're doing renderings, but for now we're not going to use any of those tabs. So every time we start a new document, we click on New Document. So there it is, or you can click on New Document up at the top here. There, it's the same thing. Please, we will notice in SolidWorks there are quite a few functions that double up. So there's more than one button to do the same function. I don't really mind which one you use, as long as you use one of them. Well, I mean, you have to get to the answer, so it doesn't really matter which one you use. All right, you click on this one for now. So we say New Document. Click on Part, and we say OK. Now, just on this quickly before I click OK, there's 3 modes that SolidWorks can go into. The first is Part mode, the second is Assembly mode, and the last is Drawing mode. And sort of the workflow in SolidWorks is you draw parts, lots of parts, one by one, save each part individually in a folder. Then we assemble all those parts together in an assembly. That's where Assembly mode comes in. And then lastly, we make drawings of either the part or the assembly. And that's where drawing mode comes in. But for now, we're just going to use part mode. So just to revise there, I clicked on New Document, Part, and I'm going to say OK. All right, this is what SolidWorks looks like. You'll notice the Resource Manager is still there, although it does disappear after a little bit of time. At the top here, we have our toolbars, okay, or our feature tabs. The first one is the Features tab. This is when we are working in 3D. All right, so once we have our 2D sketch to get our 2D sketch into 3D mode, we're going to use this tab. And any features that we work on in 3D are going to be found over there. The next one is the Sketch tab over there. Here is all your things for 2-dimensional sketches. Okay, you'll notice I have a lot of other tabs open here, which you may not see on your computer. You can get to them by right-clicking, and then you can select exactly which tabs you want. So actually, we're not going to use surfaces or sheet metal, weldments. Excuse the background noise there. All tools. Goodness. All right, so you will have these are the 5 default tabs. You can even customize your own tab, actually, if you think from here or over here somewhere. Nevertheless, you can customize your own tab with your own buttons that you can then, so that it makes the workflow a bit easier. All right, so we want to start with, oh yes, no, before I run away with it. So here are all your tools, ladies and gents. Over here, you've got, with each one of these tools, there's a drop-down menu that you can select, okay? And that will give you access to different functions of the same or different iterations of the same tool. On the left hand side here, we have our what we call feature tree. Okay, this is the feature tree, and basically every step we take to get to the final product is going to be listed in the feature tree over here. In a minute, I will quickly show you something over here in the feature tree. This area in the middle is called the graphics area, and this is where we do our actual drawing. Now, let me see if I can quickly find a part here for you. There it is. Alright, you'll notice in the feature tree, there are now a whole lot of things over here. So I've drawn this whole part. And the cool thing is about the feature tree is you can see every step you've taken to get to the end result. So for example, if I roll this back, that's called the rollback bar. You can see I started with that, then I added that little lip at the edge, after which I put the bottom piece on, and then two holes over there. Okay, you can see that's a cut extrude. Okay, then I added that lip, top piece, added the fillets around the edge, then the rib, then another fillet around the rib at the bottom there, and lastly the cut extrude, making that hole bigger. Each one of these has a feature and a sketch. If we open this, you can see the sketch, and there is the feature. You can edit the sketch by right-clicking and saying Edit Sketch. You can change any of these dimensions and then apply it like that, or you can edit the feature, edit feature, and then you can change anything here in the feature. You can edit the feature, so we can change the height of this or whatever. When you're done, you press the tick to apply it, and you can continue. Now, back to our sketch. What we want to do here is we want to start by drawing a very simple square. If we go to the study guide, you'll see that over here in the study guide, the question states, draw a simple rectangle below on the top view plane. Make sure your drawing is fully defined. Now, one thing I must just show you quickly over here is for reference of this subject, it's very important that you know where the origin lies on each one of these sketches. Now we can see in the corner over there, there's a red little axis, right? That is our origin. Now, I'm going to go back to the drawing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the origin in a minute. But just have a look. There's the origin. If we go to the next problem, okay, there's the origin over there. Also, bottom left-hand corner. Okay, there's the origin there. And this one has the origin in the middle. Okay, so that's all we're concerned about for now. Let's go back up to question number 1. Alright, so we need to draw this square 104 by 170 on the top plane. So go back to SolidWorks, click on top, okay, because that's, you can see how the 3 planes are lying. If I click here, see these 3 planes are lying in isometric view, right? So they're all intersecting each other. Now, we want to draw on the top plane. So we click on top plane and we click on sketch. You can either click on sketch over here, or you can click on sketch at the top. It's the same thing. So top plane, sketch. Now we see the origin that I was talking about before. Okay, there it is. We want to start drawing the square on the origin. So take the rectangle tool, and just by the way, if you have a look here, this is now the property manager for the rectangle. Okay, you can see there's there's 5 different types of rectangles we can draw. And for each one, you see there are numbers 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, right? That is how, those are the clicks we're going to take to draw this rectangle. So what we do is, for this one, we click once in the corner, and we click again in the other corner. Done. This one, click once in the middle, and once on the outside. Alright, you get the point. So I'm just going to remove these. And by the way, you can delete lines by clicking on the line and pressing the delete key on your keyboard, or you can select the whole thing and just press delete using click and drag. Right, so we're going to draw that rectangle now. So there it is, rectangle, and we want it to bond to the origin. So when we hover the pencil above the origin, you will notice there is a little yellow block that comes up next to the pencil. That means that we're going to bond this to the origin. So click on here, click once, and we click again. Now we have a rectangle. You will notice that 2 of these lines are black and 2 of the lines are blue. Make that a bit bigger for us. There we go. Okay. This is because these two lines are defined and these two lines are underdefined. But now what we have to do is we have to get this sketch to be fully defined. Fully defined means that there are enough dimensions to recreate this thing again in industry. So we have, what we need to do here to fully define this is we need to use the Smart Dimension tool to give a dimension along this axis and along that axis. The way the Smart Dimension tool works is, ask yourself the question, between which two lines do I want the dimension to go? So if we select the Smart Dimension tool, and by the way, these are on-off buttons. Select it, and you select it again to switch it off. So we select it, and I say I want it between this line and between that line. So I click on this line, I click on that line, and I click to place. That is the third click. There we go. And now I can modify my dimension 104. Okay, that's jumped a bit bigger. There we go. Now, same thing for this side. Click on this line, and I click on that line, and I click to place. Now, it doesn't really matter where you place this dimension, but once you make a drawing of this, it's going to take the dimensions from this and place them in the same place. So if you make your dimensions very neat here to start off with, then later on when you make a drawing of this part, it's going to be much easier. You're not going to have to move all the dimensions around. Right, so we make this 170. Oh dear, mine's 180. No problem. We don't have to press Ctrl Z and undo the whole thing or whatever. Simply double click on the dimension and then make it 170, press enter, and it will change your dimension for you. The same is if you want to move a dimension, you click on the number, not on the line, and you can move it to suit yourself. So there we go. That's exercise 1.1 in the bag. What I want to show you quickly is I'm going to draw this again, but this time a little bit differently. So I'm not going to save this. You can save it on your flash drive. Okay, so file, new, part, okay. Right, we did this before. Top plane, again, sketch, draw my rectangle, there it is. And now we put in our dimensions, 104, 170. You will notice now that all four lines here are blue. They are all four underdefined, and we know if our sketch is underdefined by looking down here in the status bar. You can see down here it says underdefined. Why is the sketch underdefined? Well, the simple answer is because we did not start with that corner on the origin. This sketch is now floating in mid-air. So we need to relate these lines back to the origin. So if I simply put a dimension between the origin and that line, and the origin and this line, you will notice my drawing is now fully defined, simply because I related this sketch back to the origin. So basically, every sketch you draw wants to have a friend, wants to be related back to the origin, and that's what we do here. If you don't start drawing on the origin, you need to at least put your dimensions back to one of the edges, both in the X and the Y axis. Okay, good. That's exercise 1.1. Now, we're going to look at exercise 1.2 quickly. What is that? Okay, please save the drawing as A1 on your flash drive. We're going to need it a bit later. Create a new part and draw the following sketch on the top plane. Make sure your drawing is fully defined. Use the circle tool to draw the circle and make sure you draw in the center lines. So there is the sketch. Okay, we can see that the origin is in the bottom left corner, and it's 78 by 110 with a circle in the middle. No problem. So, SolidWorks, I've already started a new part over here. Start in the top plane. Start by saying sketch. Now we take our rectangle, bond it to the origin. You see it's got the little dot there. Click and drag the rectangle. Smart dimension from that line to this line is 78. Just check that quickly. 78, and the other one is 110. So click on this line, click on that line, and we make it 110. Now we want to insert some center lines. And the way we find center lines is by the line tool over here. Click the drop down menu and you will find center line over there. Now, there's one thing you need to know about the line tool and the center line tool is if you click and you click again to create a line, what happens is you start a chain, and as many times as you click, the chain continues until you return back to where you started. Then the chain will stop. Or if you draw a line and you want to stop, you just double click and that will stop the chain from continuing. The same works with the line tool. So we want to draw center lines. I'm quickly just going to delete this. We want to draw center lines. We go there, click on center line, and we click and drag. I'm holding the mouse in. Now we want to make sure that this center line is horizontal. So if you look next to the pencil, you'll see there's a yellow block that has appeared there. Okay, that means that line is horizontal, and it will always stay horizontal. Okay, so we do that and we release the button. Now we do the same with the center line. Okay, see if it's vertical, it shows us that yellow block. Do that again. Now we're going to put these in the middle by putting a dimension between that line and that line. 78 divided by 2 is 39, and between this line and this line, which is 55. Good. Now we're going to draw the circle. So we go to our circle tool at the top here, and we want the circle to bond to the intersection point where those two lines intersect. So if it's only bonding to one line, you'll see the little yellow block behind the pencil only has 3 lines. If it's going to bond to the center, it's going to have 4 lines like that. So I move my mouse carefully until I've got those 4 lines. Click, make a circle, and we're going to give the circle a dimension. Oh, there's the study guide, 45. All right. The Smart Dimension tool works a little bit differently with circles. We don't click from the center to the edge. We just simply click on the radius, and there we have our circle. All right. For the next exercise in the study guide, you need to draw a triangle in the middle of the square. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're just simply going to use the line tool to draw the triangle. I'm not going to draw this whole thing from scratch. I'm just going to insert a triangle on the other drawing that we're busy with. So we're going to draw a triangle. So we're going to use the line tool. And remember, this time we want the line tool to link. The lines must be linked. So we click. Okay, we want it horizontal. Click again. Okay, any angle and any angle over there. Okay, and that is our triangle. Now, the only thing more you need to know here is if you want to insert a dimension between this point and the line, it's easy to do so. Click on that point, click on the line, and you've got your dimension. Okay, the same is with this line. You can go between a point and another point. Okay. The way we do angles is, again, we ask ourselves, between which 2 lines do I want my angle to go? So between this line and between that line. Okay, and click in the middle and we can make it 60 degrees. Again, between this line and between that line is 60 degrees. Okay, you get the point. So you need to make sure that your triangle is fully defined. I'm not going to fully define it now just to save a little bit of time. The next thing you need to do is you need to round off the 4 corners, and for that we use the Sketch Fillet tool. There it is over there. Now the radius that we're going to need, we get from the question. So let's just check here. Okay, radius 10. Good. So the radius is already at 10. In this block where it says entities to fillet, we're going to select these 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can either right click at this stage to apply it. You can see the little picture of the mouse with the tick, or you can go up here and click select and apply and click the green tick again to get rid of that box. All right, so there is exercise, what is it, 1.3 in the bag. The next exercise you need to do is exercise 1.4. We're going to draw this square, this cross. But we're going to start by doing a big rectangle around the outside and then 4 smaller rectangles, one on each corner. Please note though that the origin is in the middle this time, because we might have some trouble. Well, there's going to be some trouble later when we cut these corners away, but you'll see what I mean now. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a new sketch. Oops, Solidworks. Okay, so you need to save this, please. I'm not going to save it. File, new, part, okay. Right, now we're going to start again on the top plane, sketch, but this time we're going to start with 2 center lines. So we want the center line to go through the origin point. So we hover the mouse above the origin. Can you see that dashed line, right? We click and drag our line through the origin. You will see next to the pencil there is a yellow block with 3 lines and a green dot. That means it's bonded to the origin. And next to it is the vertical line, which means this is bonded vertically. Then we do the same on this side. Click and drag the line right through there. Okay, now we're going to draw our square around this, and it's 180 by 180. 180 by 180. And we want this to be in the middle, so from there to there is going to be 90. And from here to here is also going to be 90. Good. If it bothers you that these center lines are too short, you can click and drag the end point and make it longer. It's not a problem at all. Right. Now we're going to draw the 4 squares, 1 in each corner. So start there. Make sure we're bonding to that point. You see the little yellow dot there, and we draw the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, we want to get the sketch fully defined, so we need to insert some dimensions. So from there, 60, 60, 60, 60. Oops. Right, there's the cross. Now we want to cut away these 4 corners. So what we do is we use a tool called the Trim Entities tool. There it is, Trim Entities, and we're going to use the Power Trim. You can also use the Trim to Closest, but for now we're going to use the Power Trim. The way the Power Trim works is we click and drag a line over the lines we want to remove. So we want to cut this one and this one. So we just simply click and drag the mouse over those lines, which chops them away. Good. Now, you will notice our drawing has become underdefined. Where it was fully defined before, it's now underdefined. So the way we check why this drawing is underdefined is we click on each of these lines. A blue line can be dragged. So we pick one blue line, this one, and now I click and drag it. And I see it's moving up and down. That means it needs to be constrained in this direction. So we take the smart dimension between here and here. We know that should be 90, and we make it 90. Now that line and this line are both blue. Now pick another line, and please, you need to not have any tool selected when you do this, otherwise you're going to draw an extra line or something like this. Now we come here, click on this line, we drag it, and it's moving in the X direction. So we need to constrain it from there to there, or from there to there, either way. As long as we constrain it in the X direction. So we're going to go from there to there, and that is 180. Okay, and there we go. That is all you need to know for exercise 1, for exercise up to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4. In the next video, we're going to start with exercise 1.5, and we're going to talk about how to extrude each of these into a 3D object.